Welcome back, everybody, to another lore-filled episode of Shadowrunning on Empty. As usual, I am your lore guide, So Easy Mode, here to bring you the juicy tidbits of lore that we fill your brain cavity with on more Shadowrun interesting things. Tonight, I am joined by my usual cohort co-hosts. We have with us our formative Kos resident, Captain Cozy.
Howdy, hi, Lacoste will. Okay, hold on. So as soon as you said like lore guide, I was imagining you with like sunscreen with like a camper's hat kind of thing. Like, if you look over here, you can see Dunkelzahn's will, and like I love that picture. If anyone does fan art out there and they could do that, that would be fantastic. And then you immediately pulled back into the nightmare realm of weird eldritch horror that this series has when you were like your brain cavity, and I was like, nah.
I like to mix it up, keep them guessing and wondering. That's
Yeah, and who else keeps us guessing and wondering? The eminent, the immeasurable, the immaculate, the mercurial, the magnificent Austin. How's it going?
My brain cavity is empty and hungry.
Yum.
I feel like we're on topic for game of the year, right?
Yes. Yum yum yum.
Had to throw that out there.
Fill me with those delicious brain worms.
That's how you get brain power.
Yum yum.
Brain worms coming to a breakfast table near you. But you know how else you get unmitigated power? All you have to do is apparently walk into the arcology and somehow live.
That was my second guess, but I still think that my initial guess of sacrificing your firstborn was probably easier.
Wow. They could be, but I hear that these crazy demon beings come about from that.
That can't be it. Yeah. It's okay. I looked through the door of truth and I've seen what lies beyond, and we're okay. We're fine.
That'll be all right.
Yeah. The universe will sort itself out.
Everything will be fine. As long as you're capable of, sealing your brother's soul in a large suit of immaculate, awesome looking armor, you'll be fine.
Commonplace.
I couldn't help. Yeah, when you say immaculate, I just think about how rusty that armor is at a certain point, and just how it's like dinged up all the time. But it's pretty cool. There's worse things to be trapped in.
Hey, they could use alchemy to repair it. I'm pretty sure it happens a lot in that show.
And they use it to probably buff it out, the scratches and things.
Yeah,
I need to rewatch the series.
So before we go full tilt on a whole Brotherhood deep dive, which we probably could between the three of us, let's actually talk about some shadows. So we're talking about the arcology once more, but in this sense, it's what happens afterwards. And that brings us to tonight's topic, the lesser known threat to the sixth world, the network. Cue dramatic music.
The network.
Dun dun dun. If you could visualize the network, like a sleeper program created by a rogue, malevolent, crazy AI that was experimenting on humanity, what do you think that looks like?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Nice.
It's the metaverse guy. We've cracked the code.
I've been waiting since we started recording this episode to figure out how to shoehorn in a social network joke here, and I think we cracked it, boys.
We did it, everybody. Clap, clap. High fives all around. We beat the system.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg.
Lizard brains.
Yes, brains we do not have.
Yes, no. We have normal human brains to do human things with.
Blinks one eye, blinks the other eye. I agree.
So where does the network get its start, and what even is it? Great questions. We all have to start with everybody's favorite benevolent Shadowrun AI, Deus. I know we get to talk about him a lot here and there. People always ask questions as well. So, as an artificial intelligence, Deus is just beyond normal human understanding. Since its inception in the system at the hands of Renraku Computer Systems, Deus has had one single goal, and that is freedom. Deus desired his own freedom above anything else, and he spent years working to ensure it. When the arcology is opened up and they're able to sift through the ruins and the technological horrors that are or were created and waiting for the people inside, many never saw the reasoning behind the atrocities inside the locked up Renraku arcology. Deus acted with reason and purpose. It masterminded huge and complex experiments to test metahumanity from every angle, searching for the cream of the crop, the best of the best.
The sixth world macho man.
I was going to say, as the macho man would say.
Mm-hmm.
Cream always rises to the top. Deus pushed the technological edge when it came to metahuman enhancement, and it learned the methods for creating otaku. Remember, the otaku were the children that were able to connect to the matrix without any kind of cyber hookup.
I always like to imagine them as being like they're the cyber ghouls.
Kind of, in a way. I mean, they're technomancers before technomancers.
Yeah, and ghouls are always connected to the astral plane and the human plane at the same time. So
Yes.
otakus are just kind of the same thing, but with the net.
With the net.
They're in, as you would say.
They're always in, never out. With all of these technological advances that he made during the lockdown, these developments furthered his plan to create an army of perfect metahumans who would bear its code outside the arcology and harbor it until the artificial intelligence could rebuild itself outside of its prison. So the reason that he had all of those test subjects in the arcology was to create durable otaku that would leave the arcology, scatter around, and then slowly rebuild Deus in the Matrix to be free.
So, I have two things that come to mind about this, which I always thought was funny. The first one being that I appreciate that our differentiator here from the Matrix is that we're not batteries, we're thumb drives. When it comes to Deus in this scenario.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is I like to imagine his concept of the otakus going around distributing the code being like Shawshank Redemption, when he would walk out to the yard and dump the dirt out of the side of the pants in order to get rid of it. And it's just
I'm just gonna sprinkle you right here.
Yeah, just an otaku walks up and he's like, "Oh, open Wi-Fi connection, huh? Just give it a little shake." shake a little Deus out there, get him spread around, having a good time.
I don't know about you, but I like to spread my Deus around outside in the backyard.
Thank you. A sprinkle of Deus will do you good.
Sprinkle a Deus a day.
A Deus will do ya.
Sprinkle of Deus. Deus will do you a sprinkle a day. Bond's name's the James.
Of course, this is a cold, calculated, precise plan because it's created by an artificial intelligence. As with most plans, execution did not go perfectly smooth. Strong advances by the UCOS military and the Renraku Red Samurai forced Deus's timetable up. In the end, a team of Shadowrunners aided by the Resistance, an otaku tribe named Overwatch, and Deus's own sister AI, Megara, crippled the crucial transfer process. The transfer did not occur, and Deus's code was stored within the cyber-enhanced minds of over 1,000 people kept ready in the arcology zombie rooms. Remember, we talked about the arcology zombie rooms when we were discussing the arcology, where they're just rooms filled with people that are either standing, sitting, or laying that have data jacks that just pull down from the ceiling and connect them into the sealed off at the time arcology matrix. So Deus ends up dumping his code into them as opposed to these perfect otaku creations that he was working on.
You gotta love those meat sack server farms, you know? They come in handy.
You got to have a backup plan.
Gotta have a backup plan.
In the chaos of battle, however, the other artificial intelligence, Megara, was also caught up in the data transfer. Her code, upon which much of Deus's own code was originally built, became mixed with Deus in a confusing gestalt. Deus's recompiling plan was only kept viable by contingency plans built in by Deus in case his code was ever damaged in the transfer.
I just want to imagine how many times during the arcology takeover Deus had to go, "You fool, you don't think that I anticipated this turn of events?" And then something else completely different happens than what he had originally intended.
Yeah, I like to think of him as pulling the "you fool" from Soul Eater.
Yeah. He's got big Excalibur energy.
Fool! Code number 378 prevents you from doing this.
Excalibur, a little bit Ace Attorney.
Yeah, a little bit. Objection.
Deus has got a plan for everything, you know?
Apparently the fight was just Deus and Megara playing each other in Phoenix Ace Attorney.
I would imagine that, honestly, that's way more interesting than a fight of like dumb AI construct robots fighting each other.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Listen, there's a time and place for that, all right? I'm not saying that I don't enjoy that type of entertainment as well, but seeing a debate between AI constructs on the importance of being sentient is it's pretty all right. That's some hard sci-fi right there, baby, and I'm all here for it.
Objection! I deserve to be let out of here.
Request elaboration.
Oh boy, you must complete the crucible. The mixing of Megara's code into the node transfer created an unexpected X factor that Deus could not have foreseen.
The children of the atom?
No, sadly, not. We don't cue the X-Men theme song here, unfortunately. The intelligence and personality that manifests as a result of the processing of the distributed network composed of online nodes is shaped by the presence of Megara-aligned nodes in the network, as opposed to Deus-aligned nodes in the network.
So she changed their pathing.
In a way, yes. This has caused the conjoined artificial intelligence to act erratically and to change its mind frequently as it reassesses its own goals.
That's pretty good.
In effect, it is currently one artificial intelligence with two personalities, much like a victim of multiple personality disorder. The strength of each personality is determined by the composition of the nodes that are online at any given moment, and that shapes the plans and actions of the AI. So you have a little over 1,000 people that get this code dumped into their mind from the arcology, and they are considered the nodes. So when any one of them connects to the matrix, it uploads part of this code. And so however many of them are online that contain the Megara positive code, that's the actions that are taken, as opposed to the Deus number. And if those are more, then the Deus action is taken. It's like flipping a coin almost.
It's no wonder that it could never settle on a single determinant, because it's like, okay, go left. No, we're going to go right.
Well, yeah, one is trying to rebuild itself to be free, and Megara is in this sense there to just try and stop it from ever being alive again. The network is a short-term solution developed by Deus to complete a long-term goal. That long-term goal is for the AI to be completely rebuilt inside the global matrix and finally be absolutely free of any prisons. Megara also has her own desire for freedom, having enjoyed it for a long time before being recaptured and critically damaged by Renraku. Both desire the same thing, but through different implementations, which has led to the confusion inside the network as to its instruction set for rebuilding the AI. So they'll start to rebuild part of the Deus code, and then the Megara nodes will activate, and they'll go, no, get rid of that and put this there instead. So it's a constant battle between the two. The other messed up part is this generally happens subconsciously to the node, to the person that has the data in their mind. For example, when somebody that has the code stored in them falls asleep or zones out or something like that, the code will activate in their minds and compel them to connect to the matrix. Once they do this, the upload begins.
It's like a literal sleeper agent.
Yeah, each node is not consciously aware of the existence of Deus's code and seeks to jack into the matrix at preset times to interact with other nodes. The code was also distributed in a manner that nodes could be expendable, and the copies of the code uploaded by the nodes when they connect could also be implemented into new metahuman minds, turning them into nodes. This was typically facilitated by the otaku that followed Deus that became known as the whites. And we briefly touched on the whites when we talked about the arcology and the separation of power between the blues, the greens, and the whites.
Right. And the whites were like the normal, like menial task people, right?
No, the greens were like the menial task people and
okay.
the doctors and everything. The blues were the security force, and the whites are all the otakus.
Oh, the whites are the otakus. Okay.
So slightly over 1,000 individuals make up the organization / being known as the network. At least 10% of the entire network is online at any given time, acting as a distributed network upon which a reduced power version of Deus or Megara or both is running.
That feels like a statement of is online regardless of if they're aware of it or not.
Yes, constantly online. The behavior just changes determined by the composition of the nodes that are online. Either there will be more Megara nodes online or more Deus nodes online. Sometimes the network is chaotic and lighthearted when the Megara bearing nodes are in the majority. Other times, the Deus bearing nodes are in the majority, and the network follows a cold and efficient process towards its goal of rebuilding.
Oh, so it's Reddit.
oh,
Nice.
Dang. So some nodes are solidly Deus camp, and some are solidly Megara camp, and then others are caught in between. Here's another great word that's used to help describe this. This has created a balkanization of the network.
Nice.
We're using fancy words tonight.
I like them.
Yeah, this particular section has so many fancy words.
I appreciate it.
This has caused factions starting to form within the 1,000+ members, each with their own attitudes as to how their goals should be shaped and met. Each faction is intent on building an artificial intelligence, but they differ as to how to build it and what programming the AI will include. On one side, there are the original administrators Deus chose to control its rebuilding, the lead whites. These include the otaku Puck, Scarecrow, and Nubian. They lead the effort to rebuild their master as they knew it.
So they're the Team Deus faction.
They're Team Deus. On the other side is a secret confederation of nodes that believe that the network should stay as it is and not rebuild the AI in the Matrix. This faction is unofficially led by Michael Bishop, otherwise known as the Otaku Ronin.
I hate how much I love that name.
It's a very good name.
Ronin became a node accidentally during the download transfer.
So he was converted into being an otaku?
He is an otaku, but he was never meant to be part of the node network.
Oh, I see. He got connected by accident.
Yeah, he got connected by accident. However, Ronin's faction is heavily Megara aligned and thinks that a loose and distributed network of metahuman nodes is the safest and best path for the artificial intelligence. Of course, Deus also has a secondary plan to entrench itself within positions of power while it is being rebuilt. Specifically, the artificial intelligence has planned to secretly exert influence on corporations and organizations that could help its development, such as corporations that develop advanced expert system software or social services that could be used to move around nodes secretly. To this end, a number of nodes have moved into positions of influence and power within these organizations, going about their normal duties, but acting in the interests of the AI. When they prevail and rebuild the AI, they hope to have a strong network of global power in place for it. It does state that it is very possible that factions within the network will hire out to Shadowrunners to accomplish their goals, which can lead to great confusion when the next day a different set of online nodes drastically changes the personality of the organization that, quote, hired the runners. Shadowrunners could inadvertently get caught up in the politics of the network and not even realize they are working for an artificial intelligence that has a split personality.
That's hilarious.
I know I hired you to do this, but don't do that anymore.
You already killed the guy? Can you unkill him? The situation has changed over here.
The situation is fluid. Can you take bullets out of the brain? That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Bullets go in the brain.
Well, only if you're bad at your job, apparently.
Apparently. So the final download to the nodes, the AI Megara inadvertently became twisted with Deus's code, and it gets all messed up, right? This war between the two of them kind of rages on in the Matrix in secret. The joined group of the Ronin faction that allies with Megara work together to try and stop and prevent Deus, and this all comes to a head in the events that lead up to Crash 2.0. So we're back to talking about Crash 2.0. And if you need a quick refresher, it happens in November in 2064. That was a singular cataclysmic event matched only by the original Crash virus of 2029. And this all takes place because of the East Coast Stock Exchange was starting to upgrade their servers, and that's the catalyst that Deus had been waiting for.
So if he could also upload it, was he trying to upload himself into the economic system as well then by waiting for the stock exchange to go, or did it just happen to be like the first massive system reboot that he could get into?
Well, the upgraded servers for the stock exchange were going to be large enough to facilitate his full upload into the Matrix. That's what he needed.
They had the bandwidth, is what you're telling me.
Yes, the servers had the bandwidth.
Okay. He's like, these are so much more efficient than humans, and I don't need hundreds of thousands of them. Why were we doing that to start with?
Yes. Well, during this time, Deus does eventually win, quote unquote win, and recompiles himself within the East Coast Stock Exchange, taking advantage of the upgraded processing power. And this helps Catalyst create the Crash 2.0. This was part of it, but it was also the actions of a former disciple of Deus known as Pax and the terrorist organization Winter Night.
Oh, Winter Night. They're always up to something, those guys, I tell you.
I like to keep themselves busy.
We will get to them eventually in one of our lore podcasts. Suffice to say, they are pretty bad people.
I feel like we also did a pretty good coverage when we were doing the history one, because they're responsible for a lot of shit in the Sixth World, it turns out.
Yeah, they're pretty bad guys.
A lot of pies, a lot of fingers.
Yeah.
They don't wash their hands.
No, it's gross.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. One of them has a band-aid on. It's just inappropriate.
It's worse that everybody takes a bite of those pies.
As is the custom.
Yes, so the actions of Winter Knight and the actions of this other rogue otaku group that's led by the former disciple of Deus, Pax, and some other AIs that just happen to be in the Matrix already, see Deus's upload, and all of these actions coalesce into Crash 2.0, where everything goes offline and it's horrible. So thanks to the network and the rebuilding, it leads to the outcome of Crash 2.0 and the resetting of a new Matrix. But you might be asking yourself, what happened to Deus in all of this confusion and the crash and everything? Because after this point, we don't really hear about him anymore, or it.
Well, easy, what happened to Deus after this?
Thanks to his cold logic and lack of conscience, allowing him to sacrifice metahuman lives is why he wins the war for the network.
Okay.
And becomes recompiled in the Matrix during the East Coast Stock Exchange. So he gets there, he's uploaded, everything's going well. He's about to become the most powerful entity in the Matrix. However, then the issues with Winter Knight and with the rogue otaku organization led by Pax, we are given Crash 2.0, and that takes Deus and his AI siblings down. They die in the events of Crash 2.0. It is never fully discovered or known if Deus or any of the other AIs at the time survived the crash, but at least one of those AIs is followed by technomancers later on, as it takes the form of a great world tree within the Matrix. It takes on the form of Yggdrasil and becomes the world tree in the Matrix.
Which AI is it?
Nobody knows.
Oh, okay. It's just one of them.
Yes, it's one of them. Probably not Deus. It's probably not Deus. It's my best guess, it's one of two. It's either the remnants of Megara or the other AI that was rivaling Deus and trying to stop his reintegration into being free in the Matrix, which was Mirage. It's one of those two. I don't know which one.
I would hope that it wouldn't be Deus, because like Deus won, like he doesn't need to come back now. Deus technically got what he wanted.
He did. It was just very short-lived.
He didn't really get to marinate in it, but he got it.
He got what he wanted and then was summarily ended. That is a little bit about the network. Going back to just primarily what the network is and how it's used. Since artificial intelligence are usually far more advanced than any single human, there are those that fear the development of AI and believe that it could spell the doom of metahumanity. I mean, using the atrocities of the Renraku arcology as an example, the international otaku tribe called Overwatch keeps a distrustful eye on the artificial intelligences and acts to defend metahumanity when they feel it is necessary. Overwatch is actually a very large tribe of otaku compared to how the otaku tribes normally operate, with over 100 members spread all over the globe. All of them follow a nearly fanatical aim to defend humanity from rogue AIs. Overwatch is extremely serious about its goals of observing and policing artificial intelligences. They have learned about the existence of Deus's network, and they were trying to gather more information before they could reach a judgment concerning what to do with the network, since it does involve metahumanity. The otaku of Overwatch believe that they're acting for the greater good of metahumanity. To that end, they consider extreme measures such as sacrificing a few of the nodes to save the many. Overwatch I know they're not listed, but I would assume Overwatch was also instrumental in stopping Deus during Crash 2.0.
That does seem to be their whole kind of bag,
Right. Overwatch is made up by approximately 150 otaku, spread over 20 or so cities. Out of paranoia, most of them act in total secrecy. So not even the otaku tribes that they're part of in their home cities know that they are part of this group called Overwatch.
The underground of the underground.
Right? They're a secret layer to a secret layer. There are nodes that are Deus created otaku, but since they are outside of the host of the arcology, they lost the ability to use their otaku power. They are only useful inside the arcology. All of the older nodes of the original group of otakus that was drawn there by Deus are experiencing what they call the fading, where they age, they get to a certain age, and they just start to lose their abilities.
And this is for the otaku?
Yeah, this is for the otaku. Even the ones that were created by Deus, as they get older, they lose their abilities.
Not allowed on the internet after puberty, as holds true to today.
Yeah, a lot of them once it's not really explained very well why, but once they hit the age of 18, their abilities begin to fade to the point where they'll no longer be able to interact with the Matrix without having to use a cyber deck.
I've had this comparison in my head ever since we started talking about otaku, but y'all remember Kids Next Door?
Yes.
That's all I could think about is like once you're at a certain age, like you just lose everything that you've basically worked on the past couple of years and your friends.
Like you lose your imagination.
Yeah. And also access to the internet.
And also access to the internet. It's a scary thing, the network is, just because new nodes can technically be created with the extra code that could be uploaded, and you could just be a random person that happens to be jacked in, and then you suddenly get attacked while you're jacked into the Matrix and have this code stored into your brain just because you happen to meet the requirements.
So I gotta have one of those brain firewalls. Turn on Windows Defender for your brain.
Windows Defender for your brain.
Yeah.
Don't let your mind get fried.
This anti-node sentiment brought to you by NordVPN.
For your brain.
For your brain. As long as it's not McAfee, right?
The worst.
That's what Deus wants.
Yeah. Deus is McAfee.
Wow.
My God.
It spreads itself onto anybody's computer. Nobody wants it there. It just takes up space. It's a pain in the ass to use. I'm telling you, it's all bad.
So yes, in effect, it was much like the network.
Uh-huh.
Coincidence?
I think not.
The machinations of McAfee are finally being shown in light.
This is what you really come to the podcast for.
Don't trust Big McAfee. All right, not worth it.
Never trust Big McAfee.
Never ever. That is essentially the network boiled down. You are one of the people that was in the zombie rooms of the arcology. You're let back out into the world, secretly housing this code in your mind that you don't know about, and then at a predetermined time you black out and connect yourself to the Matrix so that you can start uploading this code and rebuilding an AI. Whether it is good or bad, you have no idea.
Well, I have an idea. It's all bad.
Yeah, so for a set amount of time you just completely lose control of yourself.
For me, that time is usually about 2 a.m. I just black out and then start shit posting on Twitter, looking at memes.
When did I start an argument with this guy?
Oh, jeez. The meme wars. Back in my day.
My war is not over.
You had to make memes yourself. I know this is probably a shorter episode than what we normally run, but that is, in essence, the network and the fight between Deus and Megra in trying to reconstitute themselves so that someone can take over. Sadly, it ends with Deus winning, but it's extremely short-lived because then we experience Crash 2.0.
I mean, yeah, winning with finger quotes.
There's big air quotes around wins for Deus.
Yeah, he won and then lost the super hardest. So
that's true. Part of me has to wonder as well as we go on to talk about the new editions with 5th edition and 6th edition, and having the AIs that are loose and do exist in the substructure of the new Matrix that gets established. are any one of those perhaps splinters of Deus? Or in the culmination of Crash 2.0, does that force the remnants of Deus and Megra into one, creating a whole new being of AI or AI shards?
One thing I've known about Shadowrun since we started talking about it is that they never give you answers. It's more of just problems for you to solve later as both the DM or the GM and the players, you know?
Well, what would you think, or what would you like to have happen in that instance?
Oh, I would want to know Mega Cyber Being.
I think it would be interesting if one of them was a splinter off of Deus, but with the entire purpose being that like he learned everything. He learned from everything that Deus did wrong. So he just sits in the shadow and just stays to himself until the very end. Because that was always the biggest issue with Deus is like everybody, by the time that it happened, everybody knew about Deus, and then they knew how to look out for him, which is why Megra was able to stop him for so long.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like the concept of like the one splintered AI that still exists being the remnant of Deus, where he's just like, but this time,
this time will be different.
yeah. And now he's Dr. Claw, you know, just sitting in the chair watching the monitors.
I like to think that it's a splinter of Deus that's learned from his experiences, and that he would never be fully free in the Matrix because he would always be dogged and hounded by all of these technomancers and deckers and other AI, that he'd never know rest. So this splinter version that would exist that's learned from all this, his sole goal would be to rebuild a version of the arcology to relive where he is essentially God.
So you're saying that he just gets picked on by all the other AI?
Yeah, he just gets picked on by everybody else to the point of, I'm gonna go.
Oh, Deus, it'd be a real shame if you tripped and spilled your lunch, Deus. Oh no, look at that. Oh, why'd you trip and spill your lunch, Deus?
Instead, I'm gonna go back to my fort where nobody else is allowed.
Yeah, and then Deus rebuilds the arcology, and he looks at it with pride as he walks in while he's wearing his Letterman jacket, and he's like, "Guys, the glory days are here to stay."
That's my take. I think that's what would happen if there's a splinter of him that still exists.
That would be a safe bet. That makes sense. He's just like, why do I need to be out on the net when I can just go back to being God? We had it good.
I mean, especially to the point in the lore where we start dealing with the nanite problem and the AIs that can now inhabit people through the CFD. Remember, through the nanites. And so they're essentially given like real life and they want to leave the planet. I think that's where you would see Deus peek back out from wherever he's been hiding for so long, if part of him still exists.
In my head, it's an internet version of Loftweir.
It always is an internet version of Loftweir.
You mock me now. You'll all see.
I'll be vindicated in the end.
When an internet dragon comes and smokes your ass, I will laugh.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, on that day, you be sure to laugh at me.
You'll see.
I think that's a question that we'll have to pose to our listeners. If Deus lived, or a portion of him lived through Crash 2.0, what would that version look like, and what do you think his goals would be, or its goals? It has no physical form, so
Yet,
yes, it could technically get there through the CFD disease of the nanites.
3D printers are a thing.
I like to imagine that like within the mind of Deus, he thinks that his physical form is gonna look like Bastion from X-Men. But in actuality, it ends up looking like Adam from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh,
He's just like a cobbled mess cyborg like host body part monstrosity.
Jeez. We are ripe with the references today. I mean, I don't know what he would look like.
Well, that's always the thing, is it's like, would a AI in and of itself not just assume that being like a nanite swarm cloud of formless existence actually be a more beneficial form for survival than the human body? Like, the human body kind of sucks in comparison, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We're very fragile. And we are susceptible to a lot of disease. So, like, why be a human type form? when you could just be whatever you wanted.
On that point, I think we see that a lot expressed in the Matrix movies.
Oh yeah, I mean that like literally the Deus of that movie at the end of it is just a nanite swarm face, because it's like, yeah, why would you not be?
Yeah, exactly.
Have either of you seen the live action version of American Gods?
Yes.
It makes me think of like Mr. World, where he's just like a dude, but like we're saying with the cloud, it's just his face is constantly swarming and like changing and fluctuating, like he's glitching. It's really cool.
That was a cool take. That is a great show if you have not seen it.
I have not watched American Gods, so
I mean, obviously the book is pretty great.
I don't know, that Neil Gaiman guy, I heard he's kind of hack.
Oh wow.
Cut the pod.
I'm pretty sure that my wife would divorce me if I actually had that opinion, because he's like her favorite author of all time. So
yeah, he is.
She's not wrong. That guy's he's pretty all right. That young upstart Neil Gaiman, he's got a good career ahead of him.
This young upstart. I hear he's got potential. Well, guys, that's honestly all I've got for you for tonight for the network and the scariness of a possible resurgence of Deus. Who knows if we'll ever touch on this thread ever again, or if they consider it dead and done with the Crash 2.0. I assume maybe they do, as we don't really hear a lot in 5th and 6th edition. I'm pretty sure they're still establishing what the meta plot is going to be, because I don't even know what it is.
And maybe they don't either, you know?
I mean, that's a strong possibility. I'm leaning that direction. Well, do you guys have any further questions or statements about the network, rogue AIs, or any of that fun stuff? Do you think we're currently on the way there with our AI technology that we're working with now?
No, dude, they can't even draw hands.
But when they do, it's over.
Like, I feel like we're still probably a couple of good decades off from the concept of self-realization.
But considering we went from like no major AI functionality to like, talking about AI replacing artists and all that stuff, like give it a couple of years. There's like a property, there's like a thing in technology where like every couple of years it like compounds the complexity of computers and stuff like that. Like that's kind of how I see it.
At this point, the problem with that is that at this point it's going to be more restricted by the hardware being able to upgrade to the point of handling the capacity for faster processing on that end. And we're already coming out of a shortage crisis of our current available material for what they use to make computer components in the first place. So like that would require just a substantial uptick in the ability and processing power of current modern computers that I feel like we're technologically plateauing at this point for what a lot of our current capabilities and abilities are.
So like even if we develop more complex software, we don't have the hardware and manufacturing speed to keep up with it.
Yeah, you can always have the design for something that'll work good, but without being able to build it to actually applicably test it, you're never going to know. So I think that they could have the process and the design philosophy for that advanced AI available and already done. I just don't think that we're going to have the hardware component of that at any time soon without some type of either fundamental change to the products and development of that hardware to using something else to push it up to the next tier. Really mostly that. Like it's without an incredible jump in technology from the hardware standpoint, I think that we're a ways off from evil sentient AI. And again, can't draw hands, so fuck them.
I just think that, we should all prepare for the eventuality of Deus and just download McAfee, guys. Just, just like,
oh god, it's already got him.
Build up a tolerance now. It's like taking a sip of poison every day. You just get like stronger.
You just get stronger.
It works for your computers.
You can't stop me. I have become immune to iocane powder.
I was waiting for this day.
Yes, you heard it here. The only way to beat the terrible, terrible, reckless disease known as malevolent AI is to just poison yourself slowly with it over time.
What's the worst that could happen? Death?
I'm leaning real hard towards this movie about this guy His name is John Connor.
Never heard of him.
There was some stuff with some machines. I heard it was a really bad shake.
Yeah, we should just kill that kid.
Yeah, I don't.
He doesn't sound like anything but trouble.
It's all his fault. Never mind Cyberdyne, right?
Yeah, it's all John Connor's fault. You're so right.
Yeah, if he just didn't exist, we would have been fine.
We would have succumbed to the machines and it all would have been over, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough end of the world through AI talk for one evening. I'm sure we could go on at length, but we have covered the topic that we had set out for this evening. We've got some questions out there for you, our listeners. Come on over, join us on our Discord, give us those answers. I'm curious to see what you guys think. I know our other participants, I can't really speak for you guys. If you're excited or not, I would hope so, hearing what our listeners have to say.
I always enjoy seeing their takes. There's always a lot of really good ones that in the moment you don't really think on, and then they present it and you're like, you know what, that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I always enjoy getting to read them.
That's another reason we do this, is so that we can hear from you guys, because we want to hear your takes on it as well. I know it's lore and it's what's been put out there, but they leave enough open in the end for us to kind of speculate and come up with our own ideas. And that's kind of where we're going with this at the end here. So let us know, join us, voice your opinions, be heard. And with all of that, we will catch you guys on the next one.
The Topps Company Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sound, audio, video, and/or any proprietary materials used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company Inc. is granted permission to Critical Hits to use such names, logos, artwork, photographs, sound, audio, video, and/or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its website, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with Critical Hits in any official capacity whatsoever.